All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our monthly Matter membership info session. We'll get started here shortly, but just want to give a couple introductions to myself and then Mike, who's sitting here next to me. So, my name's Garrison Anderson. I work on the marketing team for Matter. So, I work with promoting a lot of Matter's programs and services. And then I also help put together events like this info session today. I've been at Matter 4 years, so I have a little bit of history with Matter and a lot of the startups we've worked with. And I will pass it off to Mike, who will be going over some slides today, and I'll be helping out. And Mike is our VP of Venture Acceleration. So why don't you give a little intro, and then we can go over the deck as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Pleasure meeting everybody. So we're going to leave plenty of time for Q&A on the back end. As Garrison said, we've got a few slides, just run through sort of the high-level programming. But just, by quick way of background introduction, Mike McGarry, Senior VP of Venture Acceleration. That's Matter's program that works, exclusively with health tech startups and supports them in their journey, really creating longitudinal support and mentorship. At Matter, we also have a parallel program, our corporate partnership work, where we run accelerators, typically on behalf of large corporations. It could be, large pharma companies, foundations, et cetera. Those are more time-bound, acute engagements. Accelerators in a very traditional way that many of you are probably familiar with. It's usually on a very specific problem statement. We reach out and have a number of usually about 80 startups apply for those. We whittle it down to about 15 that then go through an accelerator or boot camp and then a pitch day at the end. So you might hear a little bit about our accelerator programs or corporate partnerships, either through other channels or if you choose to join Matter. If and when those are available and aligned with the companies, the products you're building, it's a great opportunity to get some really intensive support, get good connections to those industry sponsors. But today we're going to be talking primarily about the Venture Acceleration Program. In that program, we have a number of programs and services to support entrepreneurs, founders, early stage startups in their journey in fundraising and getting connected to community, industry executives and experts, et cetera. And the intent with the Venture Acceleration Program is really building a longitudinal relationship. Average membership currently is about 28 months that we see our members stick with us. And we focus a lot of our energy on really what I would consider that aspirational founder, the individual that's just getting ready to start a business, all the way up to about an early Series A, if you will. So a lot of energy focused on that pre-seed, seed stage company. So with that, I think... All right, our mission at Matter, independent of our accelerator program or our incubator program, the Venture Acceleration Program, is to accelerate the pace of change of healthcare. For those of you that are new to healthcare, you'll learn quickly. It's a very complex but incredibly rewarding ecosystem. Most of the folks you come across are very passionate about the work they do, but it can be challenging, right? There's a lot of approvals, a lot of regulatory, a lot of data that needs to be generated, clinical data, financial data. So at Matter, our mission across the board, really engaging not only with startups, but with industry, with investors, is to work collaboratively to accelerate the pace of change of healthcare. And our core belief, consistent with that, collaboration between entrepreneurs, industry leaders is the fastest, most effective way to accelerate innovation, advance care, and improve lives. And how that translates into the real world. For example, selling into health systems, for those of you who have had experience with that, can take a long time, can be very challenging just to find the right person inside of a large health system, for example. So at Matter, we work not only with our startups to help prepare for those meetings, but also work with health system leadership to help them be better customers. So collaboration is key. Our model, I kind of jumped ahead of this slide a little bit, but the corporate innovation program is what I already spoke about. We run accelerators in partnership with large companies, foundations. Startup incubation is the Venture Acceleration Program that we're going to be digging into in more detail today. And then that community nexus is really that collaboration piece that I was talking about, bringing everyone together, independent of the program that you're in. We have a lot of startups come through our corporate innovation program. They become members in the startup incubation program. So we at Matter work collaboratively ourselves to really support everyone in our community. Couple of, sizzle slides here. We've been at it for a little over 10 years. We're one of the biggest, and definitely, I think, the biggest dedicated exclusively to healthcare. You can read this for yourself, but I'll run through it. Over those 10 years, we've worked with over 1,000 startups from across the globe. We started with a really strong Chicago and Midwest focus back in 2015, but now we see representation, fairly have a strong gathering of Midwest companies, about 30-35%. 40% represents sort of the rest of the US, if you will. And about 20% of our companies are international, oftentimes more well-established companies in their local markets looking to break into the US market. Pretty extensive network of industry partners, 143 industry-leading hospitals and organizations, universities. Collectively, the companies we've worked with have raised $5.3 billion in capital. And if you look on the right-hand side, you see the sectors that we don't necessarily strive to create this, this structure of startups. It's more just where we've landed. So a heavy focus on digital health, recognizing that's an incredibly broad umbrella, everything from rev cycle management to digital diagnosis and chronic disease management. About 20% in the life sciences and devices, 10% in services. And then from our partners, you see about 30% in the health provider side, 25% life sciences, 20% associations, for example, the American Medical Association, and then a mixing of payer and university partners as well. So pretty broad breadth of partners there as well. Global footprint. So at the end of 2024, 272 member startups. That's in both of we have 2 tiers of membership right now, our Flex and Select. That represents, all of those, 51 corporate partners, 117 cities across 11 countries. Just by way of example, Israel, the UK, France, Canada, a few of the companies that we have direct relationships with their government agencies promoting, the exchange of business between countries. 140 industry leaders. Again, I won't read these one by one, but we'll just kind of pause on this slide for a second just to give a sense. Should be a lot of logos on here that you recognize. Many of these organizations, like COSME in the middle there, that's a South Korean government organization. We work with them closely, bringing companies from South Korea into the US. Others are health systems. Many of these we've worked with directly, either running accelerators or work with them directly, connecting our member companies with industry executives. All right, jumping into the member experience. We really work to support our members in a number of ways, 3 in particular: building business capabilities. This is really understanding you're not only building a product, you're not only addressing a solution, but you really need to focus on building the entire business. So things around leadership, things around how you structure your advisory board to be more attractive to investors. We don't get too involved in HR, but through our community, we have a lot of folks in our network that really help our companies frame their strategic direction, et cetera. So really help build a deeper understanding of what it takes to build a really strong business, which supports helping to develop fundraising capabilities. Again, I think oftentimes early founders will naively go into an investor conversation or even their mindset in engaging investors thinking, we've got a great product, they're going to love the product, but they haven't done that depth of research around around the market. What's the size of the market? What will a customer pay for the product? So it's not just about having a really great solution and a great leadership team, but really having that full capabilities around your business. And ultimately, that's what investors are looking for. The thought you have a great idea or a great product is table stakes. They really want to see a completely well-rounded business that's going to succeed. And then finally, we say learn from the best in healthcare. That's the engaged ecosystem when we talk about. That could be an investor network. That could be connecting with industry executives through some of our thought leadership pieces, talking about how you sell into health systems, for example, is a piece we're working on framing out right now and hoping to launch in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We've worked with one of the more recent ones we ran was a self-insured payer, presented a series of workshops on how you know, the types of solutions they're looking for, how you best connect with and engage with a self-insured employer. So again, not only through direct activities that we curate and make available to our members, but also through industry conferences. We're gearing up for Health, HLTH, which is a big conference in Vegas every year. I think it's about 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now. We host a pavilion there that comes at a incredibly reduced cost. If you were going to go as an individual entrepreneur, as a small startup, the cost attending under our pavilion is much less. So there's a cost benefit, but also just a visibility benefit. Our pavilion usually sits somewhere in the middle of the show floor, drawing a lot more attention than if you were a startup in the back corner of the startup section of Health. So opportunities like that to engage with community, not only other founders, other startups, but industry executives as well. The entrepreneurship journey at Matter, pretty straightforward. We operate a little bit differently than some of the other accelerators or incubators you might be familiar with or have heard of. For example, Y Combinator. We don't directly invest in companies. We operate purely on a membership model, nor do we take equity in the companies that we work with. And that's a big difference, considering some of those programs can take upwards of 8-10% of your company if you're an early stage company. So pure membership. So instead of direct investing, we nurture really deep relationships with an investor community, and then work to bring the startup and the investor community together. But the process is pretty straightforward. We host these info sessions, generate interest and awareness of what we're doing. To those that are interested, you just pop out to our website. We've got an online application there. We review each company as a team, making sure that we have good fit. So a little bit, we're not necessarily trying to assess, are you a great company, but are you a good fit for the resources we have? For example, the investors that we work with have a very, very specific investment thesis. We want to make sure that the companies we're bringing in are aligned with the pool of investors that we work with. Now, we have sort of a two-tier network of investors. One we call our Catalyst Network. We have 25 VCs in there that work closely with us, have a history of investing in Matter companies, and then a broader network of, I think, about 270 investors they we engage with primarily through quarterly newsletters and whatnot. So when I say we work with an investor community, it's a pretty broad community that covers a very broad investment thesis. So what we're looking for is good fit there. But again, the industry relationships that we've really nurtured and where we feel we can make effective connections for our startups, we just want to make sure that there's good fit. So the application process is really around finding good fit between the company and our resources, but also making sure that what you're looking for, for example, what we cannot and don't have the bandwidth to do is act as an extension of your go-to-market team, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm going to join Matter so they can introduce me to 100 health systems and get sales meetings on the books, that's just a ton of work. So we will help guide and coach that process for you, but that heavy lifting still falls on our members to get that work done. But once your membership is accepted, we host a discovery session, a chance for you to meet the broader team, really get to understand your key priorities over the next 3 to 6 months, and then get you into the system, get you familiar with how to navigate our portal and other resources that we offer. We complete a roadmap, connects you to the internal resources that we have, and then finally we start building with you, helping you build your business. One of the programs that we have that you get connected to immediately is our mentoring and coaching. We have about 25, I think it might be 26, 27 right now, executives in residence. These are individuals with really, really deep knowledge in healthcare. Many of them have had successful exits of startups. Many of them deep domain expertise in their maybe a 30-year career in healthcare and care delivery. So they understand how to bring new businesses forward and understand how the market works. And so each of our member companies is paired with an executive in residence. They really become, and oftentimes for some of our earlier startups, your first formal mentor that sticks with you. On average, we see our EIRs and members meeting about once a month. These discussions are really more strategic in nature, right? Helping make sure that you're on the right path, minimizing the mistakes or the dead ends that you might travel down as an entrepreneur. In addition to that, we have our expert clinic, well over 100 mentors in there. Here they have a little bit more domain specific knowledge, right? They might be experts in regulatory strategy or reimbursement strategy. They might have a ton of experience in go-to-market strategy. Those experts become available to you more on an ad hoc basis. You set up one-on-one meetings with them as much and as often as you need to and want to. Typical behavior that we see, you might find a mentor that's really good. You might set up 3 or 4 meetings with them, get what you need, get the sort of guidance and input that you need, and then you might not meet with them again. Whereas your EIR, you'll meet with on a monthly basis for the duration of your time with us. And of course, support from Matter and the Matter team. I represent just one member of the team. We have 2 others that are directly part of the Venture Acceleration team. Garrison and others from marketing are always supporting us to bring together all the events and whatnot. So a ton of support from our internal team to help guide you through the experience here. Fundraising support, I touched on this a little bit, but again, not necessarily working to set up 100 investor meetings for our members. That's really, that heavy lifting is on you. We do, when appropriate and available, make those direct connections when we feel there's a really good fit to investors in our network. But more importantly, we're working to help you build your materials, build your strategy. We do this through pitch practices, feedback on your material. In addition to one dedicated resource on the venture team, we have 2 venture fellows that we work with. They currently run funds and are making investments, but they have also both been successful entrepreneurs with successful exits in healthcare and health tech. We typically try and encourage folks to join at least 6 months in advance of when you think you want to raise money. The reason for that is, on average, it takes about 9 to 12 months to raise capital. So if you haven't started that process, building your pitch deck, and more importantly, building all the supporting evidence that validates the claims you make in your pitch deck can take a lot of time. And so we help coach and navigate you through that process and connect you with industry experts that have done this and do this in their sleep. Really great folks there. On-demand resources, full transparency, there's a lot of stuff that you might even find out there somewhere on Google, but we've got a highly curated and focused library of content in our digital curriculum, our knowledge library. There's templates in there. What is a cap table? What does a cap table look like? What does an effective go-to-market strategy for a healthcare or health tech company look like? Our professional services directory, we make available to our members. These are individuals that are offering up services at a discount. That's a requirement for us if they participate in the program, offering up at a discount services to our members. These could be folks, graphic design folks that are really good at building websites or pitch decks. They could be individuals that are really strong in go-to-market strategy and sales development. And so you have the opportunity to meet with them, utilize their services. That is not included, the cost of those services is not included in membership, but the actual directory itself and availability to it is available to all of our members. And I've talked about community a lot. There's a number of ways that we really work to nurture and build community. For those of you that might be in and around the Chicago area, the physical space that we're broadcasting from today, a gorgeous space right downtown Chicago. 15,000 square feet?
Yeah,
about 15,000 square feet, co-working space, conference rooms. We've got an auditorium that can comfortably seat about 100, a little over 100 people, classroom that can seat about 40 to 50 people. All of those spaces are available to you to use. And whether you're in Chicago or not, we've got a lot of members that are remote. They might got a team member in Florida, maybe someone in California, maybe someone up in Wisconsin, and they'll have quarterly meetings. They'll fly in and have their team meetings here. So whether you're using it on a regular basis or an ad hoc basis for investor meetings, maybe you want to host, for some of our more advanced companies, maybe you want to host a customer meeting, bring in 15, 20 prospective customers from health systems. All of these spaces are available for use there. Member exclusive opportunities. This is really our thought leadership piece. So we're talking about webinars, white papers, other ways that we're bringing the knowledge of the industry together in a way that's very interactive. So instead of just sitting in and listening on a webinar, we tend to make those a little bit smaller. We tend maybe 20 to 25 participants, so we can reserve a lot of time for Q&A at the end, so you can really engage with those industry executives. And then we have a Slack channel, both general and private, to connect community. And that's really more entrepreneur to entrepreneur. Oftentimes, especially those that are maybe this is your first company, your first effort as an entrepreneur, just connecting with other entrepreneurs can be, even if they're developing something completely different than you, you're on a similar journey and you can really learn from each other. So community both within, but also across the industry. Membership tiers. So as I mentioned earlier, right now we currently have 2 tiers. Our select membership, $400 a month. Most of what I've been talking about today falls under that select membership, designed to be a little bit more hands-on, designed to give direct, advising and consultation, meetings with the EIRs, expert clinic, etc. All the digital tools available as well, but really, again, more of our hands-on, personal membership. And then the other level of membership that we have, our Flex membership, $30 a month. This is really designed as a digital-only experience, on-demand resources. So the digital curriculum, professional services, knowledge library, and general Slack community are available to our Flex members. This is really geared towards the individual that's contemplating, maybe you've launched, maybe you've incorporated, but you're still not 100% clear on your value proposition or the size of your market. A lot of content in there to help inform the steps you need to take or the actions you should be filling your time with to really frame out and build your business, but really geared towards that, I would consider aspirational founder. If you're at the point where you already have a prototype and you're really looking for direct feedback on your product, right? You want to try and get connected to industry professionals. Hey, are we tackling the right solutions? Do you like our product? What would you pay for our product? Addressing those kinds of questions. Select is probably the more appropriate membership. All right, and finally, our tagline: do something that matters. And with that, I will pause the high-level intro and open it up to comments, questions, feedback.
Feel free to come off mute or drop in the chat. We don't bite, so happy to answer any questions you have.
I have a question if you guys don't mind.
Yeah,
James, go ahead.
Hey, James Townsend. I'm actually very familiar with you guys. I work as a consultant. I work with Habit New, which is one of your members. I've been to your office before, and you guys do great work. But as a consultant, I run an LLC. Are you strictly focused for membership on companies that are potentially going to be investing as corporations, et cetera, or do you work with any other styles of companies as well that are in the healthcare space?
Can you expand on that a little bit? So, I'll take a crack at answering first, and then maybe we can clarify. We currently have about 140 members. I'd say the high percentage of those, we encourage companies that are formed as a C Corp, just for those that are actually going to raise capital, right? Because most venture capital firms are fairly challenged to invest into an LLC. So that's a high percentage, but we do have a number of other companies, James, I'd say, maybe upwards of 10%, more in the services business. They're actually going straight to revenue. They're not looking to raise capital. Some of those are formed as LLCs. We're seeing a big trend in that across the industry, right? So if you're playing in a space that is regulated or requires reimbursement, for example, to drive revenue, or requires FDA clearance, that can be a long journey, right? That could be a 3, 4, 5-year journey. What investors are really excited about and what the healthcare industry is really in need of is a lot of back office service things, rev cycle management, supply chain. So we've got a handful of companies and more seem to be coming in every day that are really addressing those areas of healthcare to actually assist healthcare in being more efficient, more cost effective.
Right, and I would fall more into that category. So that's, it's good to know that you've got a few members that are in that space as well.
Yeah, I would say that's been a trend really, definitely with the new administration, as we're seeing cuts to a lot of federal programs, a lot of research dollars, cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, health systems always have been, but I think never before like they are right now, being asked to do more with less. And so they're looking at a lot of technologies. It seems if you don't have AI somewhere in your name, you're not cool. But AI is just about everywhere. Everything from physician charting and note taking to some of billing, and those sorts of things. So a lot of that back office operation doesn't require the really intensive clinical validation, which allows those companies, to get to market much faster. So we are seeing an uptick. I would say actually a growing percentage of companies applying to Matter fit that description, James.
Great, thank you.
I have a question building off of that question on the member fit. You guys mentioned digital health and life sciences. If a company is digital health plus like a wearable with hardware, does that still fit kind of your
Absolutely.
membership? Okay. Because that's kind of where the company I'm with, is both kind of that digital health AI, but there's also a wearable attached to it as well.
Yeah, so the one thing, well, do you want to share a little bit about the upcoming BARDA, or is that still in the works as far as the wearables?
I mean, I can talk about it a little bit. I'll share two things. We do have a program coming up. We have a program called the Paratus Digital Health Accelerator, which is kind of a overarching name for our work with BARDA, which is a US government agency. And one of the things that'll be being announced in the next week or two is a non-dilutive funding opportunity for wearables. I believe specifically with traumatic brain injury is one category, and another is just wearables in post disaster kind of response situations. So that's an upcoming program that kind of fits in between our work between corporate innovation and then also what we do with providing resources to accelerate startups. So you don't have to pay for the monthly membership to apply to programs like that. But those are just examples of that. I will also say to your question about wearables, where there's a med tech component along with a digital health software service component, I'd say that's a very popular category for us. In the ones that are med tech companies within Matter usually fall within that type of setup. We've worked with companies like Ember Labs is one that comes to mind, where they are a menopause solution that helps. They have a wearable device that gives sensors to monitor hot flashes. So they have a wearable, but they also have an app component as well. And there are many more that are very similar to that as well, because we do see that intersection between the wearable that provides the data and then the app that gives the health insights to further the sort of use of that product. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Companies in remote patient monitoring, home health, all fall under that sort of same category where they're developing devices, but also have that digital component to it. For clarity, and I think where we differ, there are a few like MHub and others out there. We don't have dedicated bench space for developing a physical product, right? So we really focus more on the strategic and business side of your business. On the life sciences side, we don't have wet labs and lab space for developing product, for example.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Tyler, founder and CEO of MedMiro. I just had a quick question. We recently applied for the AGA Matter Incubator. Does that still require the membership fee?
No, it does not. So like I said, with our BARDA program, similar, AGA is the same sort of thing, where we've worked with AGA to develop the accelerator and application process. I believe the applications are in review phase right now, so there's review and selection going on. But that does not require you to pay the membership for this. Oftentimes at the end of our accelerator programs we do with partners, there will be a continuing sort of Matter membership where you'll have an additional 6 to 12 months after that dedicated accelerator where you'll have access to the services we talked about today.
Thanks. Makes sense.
Yeah, and in that instance, it's essentially, and that's really based, sponsor by sponsor. They're more or less paying for the membership.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question. This might not pertain though to everyone else in the group, so please let me know if there's someone else I should contact or we talk about later. But I'm Adam, and I joined a startup about 10 years ago and worked on building out. My area of expertise is learning and development, and I worked on building out the learning function for about 10 years, Oak Street Health, and then we were eventually acquired by CVS Health, and I left in April. And I'm now a full-time student at Northwestern, and I'm exploring how to support startups in the levers that can be pulled sort of early on in the organization that I think have very lasting impacts for the organization's success. So maybe I have an interest in your expert clinic area or other ways of coordinating or collaborating with Matter. But would you either of you be people I could speak to, or is there someone else that has that relationship built?
Yeah, so Mike McGarry, you should have my email through this invite, yeah, or
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat too.
drop it in the chat. Yeah, yeah, and just reach out to me directly.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's Mike. Yeah,
Oh, I'm so
we
sorry.
had a Michael.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Mike at Matter Health, pretty easy to remember.
I will say too, so James brought up Habit New. They're a very long time member of us, and I think are a really good example of how startups come in as maybe just a founder with an idea and then develop into finding co-founders, finding people within healthcare to help develop that healthcare expertise. I'd say we've talked a lot about how we have certain archetypes of founders. One of those archetypes being the physician who maybe has a great idea but needs help in the business sense to further advance their solution. That's a very clear archetype. I think Habit New technically would fall into that based on their founder's experience. And then we have other archetypes like the person who has a business idea or has that AI expertise, the software expertise in something and wants to sell a solution to healthcare. And that's where we maybe help them connect with experts through our EIRs and our mentors who can help them understand sales cycles at hospitals, different integrations of where things would work within a hospital workflow, and how to get your solution paid for if it is your first foray into healthcare.
Yeah, you mentioned an example, Garrison, I think is really important. Well, we just ran one this morning, Coffee and Connection, coffee. Yeah, coffee, yeah. Had one individual who, really successful entrepreneur in the fintech space. So really understood that side of technology and business, was really curious about and wanting to do something in healthcare, but had no understanding of healthcare. We had a nurse who had identified a really meaningful problem, clinical problem, and had a solution, but had no idea how to build any technology. They ended up showing up to the same community event, put the two of them together, and I think they've been in discussions about, co-founding something. So when you think about community, it goes back to that old saying of, marketing dollars, only 50% of marketing dollars matter. The trouble is you don't know which ones, right? And so the same thing with community and community building, relationship building is, we really try and create as much opportunity and encourage our members to participate as much, even if you think something isn't directly related to, your product or your problem or your sector of industry. You just never know who you're going to meet that might be able to either make a connection for you or might be someone that could be a good advisor for your company, those sorts of things. So when we talk about community, it's a great example. You mentioned, someone finding a co-founder. We see that happen a fair bit just by kind of being engaged in this community.
Well, we're looking for a co-founder, so if you guys
There
have,
you go.
I know our application is in review, so if you have anyone there, let us know. So
Yeah, well, so Tyler, I do want to be clear. So if you apply to the accelerator program, that will be in the accelerator program. You might want to see how that plays out. If you're accepted in an accelerator, then you'd go that path, and most likely, as Garrison said, there's usually a 6 or 12 month Matter membership tacked on to the back end of that. If you're not accepted into the accelerator, then it would be a separate application into the Ventures program.
okay,
Yeah,
makes sense.
But since you have an application into the accelerator, I wait and see how that plays out, because you wouldn't necessarily want to do both at the same time.
Sure. Yep.
Just because it would be a waste of your money.
Yeah. We can't be wasting money at this stage.
No, we try and help our members avoid wasting money as much as possible. Yeah.
As they say, there's no startups that fail, right? There's just startups that run out of money, right?
Yeah. I think that's more true than you know. Yeah, but a good point. I mean, we do talk about the membership. It is, $400 a month. If you're wrestling, payroll that month, you're trying to make payroll, 400 can sound like a lot of dollars. So we really try and keep that membership fee as low as possible. A lot of the events that we've been, talking about, we work, the Matter team works to get industry sponsorship for those, because all of those require time and energy, money, to run. But we work really closely with our industry partners to get sponsorship dollars to run a lot of those programs, keep the membership fee as low as possible. But we also understand, many of us, myself, I've been part of at least a dozen startups. I know how tight the wallet can get. So that's top of mind for us is being very efficient and effective in, the dollars and how they're being utilized.
Well, I dropped both mine and Mike's LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with us. Dropped Mike's email in the chat as well. Thanks everyone for coming. Really appreciate the questions. Really appreciate the video and the faces. And definitely, if you feel like you have a question that comes up in a day or two, feel free to shoot us a message and we'll respond and help you out as best we can. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day.